I don't know, baby. But I gotta find a way to reach you. Tell me what I gotta do to get to your house. Tell me where I gotta go to be with you. Tell me what I gotta say to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVLN Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVLN.
The Audio Genius.
Get in on the conversation with Rufus Williams and the Morning Show at 591-1690. We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVLN.
Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday. It is the day before tax day, the 14th of April, the year 2026. It's the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, and as always, thrilled, delighted. I am so excited to be here with you this morning. Got guests already in the building. Can't wait to have a conversation with our Democratic Lieutenant Governor candidate, Christian Mitchell, who'll be in with me in just a moment. But before we do, the team's all here. A few things to talk about. Annette, I am so distressed about the fact that this young 2 to 3 year old was left yesterday on the West Side. How do we make any sense of that?
That is a very good question. And, there's nothing to go by except for the fact that what she's wearing, they don't know her name. They don't know her age. They don't know how she got there. There are reports right now that there was a woman that dropped her off there at the corner of Van Buren and Kildare at around 7 o'clock yesterday. And that they didn't know how long she had been standing there. The little child was dressed to the nines. She had on an Adidas diaper bag with her. And inside the diaper bag, there was an iPad and diapers in the bag. She had, her hair was freshly braided with cornrows, and she's a beautiful little girl with brown eyes. She was wearing a pink coat and maroon and yellow stripes and a little Mickey Mouse sweater. So she looked very well groomed, very well taken care of. So it is a big mystery as to how she ended up there.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And as you were describing it, I can only think in these cases, perhaps there's some bout somewhere of mental illness that's going on that would cause someone to do that, because she is, by all indications, a very well taken care of young child, adorable little girl. But what would make somebody do something like that? I just can't wrap my brain around it at all.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And, Chicago is a city where you can drop your child off at the
police station,
fire department, or a police station, mostly a fire department, and there's no questions asked. There will be no charges or nothing, but that is a safe drop-off place if you're having a stressful moment and you can't care for the child. So there are options,
Yeah, I pray that family is found, because obviously somebody cares about her, and something is done to understand what happened. But I cannot imagine that somewhere in her life, this is not going to have some impact on her. So there's some embracing that really needs to happen with this young girl. And I'm looking forward to good news about what happens with her from this point forward. That was just devastating, heartbreaking, and every news coverage, as it should be. Not looking so much for criminality, because she's obviously taken care of. But why in the world would someone do something like that? It baffles the brain. Titus, I never thought that I would watch the women's draft, but I was glued to the television last night.
Myself as well included in that one.
It's just amazing. And Azizi Fudd going number 1 pick, going to Dallas, playing guard with her girlfriend. I mean, how do you make these things up?
I mean, I feel like that's a dream come true for both of them. They both played at UConn with each other. So it just seemed like it was all natural to be there. And they made some nice, decent moves in free agency too as well. So look out for them to be a surprise playoff team this year.
Every place is going to be interesting to watch. Most of them, at least at this moment, before the ball goes in the air, before anything is played. Let me say this: the women look phenomenal to a person. It was classy. It was well done. It wasn't 800 minutes between each draft pick. They kind of knew what they were doing, and it was just such a wonderful, classy, well done event. They were not like some of the guys ridiculously dressed. I know even Azizi Fudd had a wardrobe change during the evening. So it was not your daddy's draft night.
Oh, it definitely was
a different thing. The Sky didn't have a first round draft pick, right?
Oh, they did. They had picked number 5 overall.
Really?
Yes, they drafted Gabriela Jaquez, Jaime Jaquez's sister who plays for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, the one
who was on that UCLA team that won the championship.
Yeah, the one who did work, came off the bench and did work for UCLA. Wow, she was a top draft pick.
Yep, top 5.
Look at that. So maybe when I looked at it, I had already missed the Sky. But so good for us. It just keeps getting better, because if she shows any of the energy that she showed, it's amazing. UCLA, people must have been sleeping on UCLA most of this season, because they had a record number of draft picks in the first round and a record number of draft picks overall.
Yeah, I think they had 5 of their players in the top 10 of the draft, which is amazing. This only happened once before that, and I believe it was the Seattle Storm, if I remember correctly, had that type of draft class before.
So clearly the pros were not overlooking UCLA, because they saw them. And this is the thing, it was UCLA just in this year, because just like the guys, everybody came in from someplace else. Only the Sky's pick was originally from UCLA, because she hadn't been there very long, right?
You are correct.
So it's just the way.
Yeah, you know what? I misspoke. Lauren Betts, she was also there as well. She was I think the number 3 overall pick this year. So she was there from her freshman year. She didn't transfer.
Okay.
Right? But other than that, that's it.
Well, good they were able to hang on to her. But yeah, UCLA had a strong showing last night. Sat and watched the WNBA draft. I could not believe I was doing it and enjoying every moment.
See, I didn't do it last year, but the year before when they drafted Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, I definitely watched that draft. I jumped in and out of last year's draft, but this year I was definitely glued to it, because, like you said, it was just so many interesting players and the outfits and everything. I just was like, I got to watch this.
Yeah, so much. There are other things going on. We may or may not have time to get to them, because it's time for me to take a break and bring in my first guest. Christian Mitchell's in the studio. Can't wait to have a conversation with him so we all get to know him better. We'll be back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Hi, I'm Glenn Davis, Artistic Director of Chicago's legendary Steppenwolf Theater, inviting you to come see Windfall, a gripping play about a Chicago father who gets caught in the struggle between activism and capitalism. Windfall is a communal experience created for this moment. Don't miss this world premiere from Terrell Alva McCraney, the Academy Award-winning writer of Moonlight. Windfall is directed by Awoye Tempo and performed by a cast with many familiar faces, including my own, from our recent Broadway runs of Purpose and Bug, now playing. Tickets at steppenwolf.org.
Illinois politicians did it again. They secretly tucked bad policy into the budget. Now, guess who pays the price? Servers, drivers, stylists, workers who depend on tips. Unless Springfield fixes this mistake, your credit and debit cards may not work to pay sales tax or tips starting July 1st. Tell Springfield, stop the credit card chaos law. Learn more at guardyourcard.com/Illinois. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
If you are caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, you are not alone. You can find support, resources, real conversations, and guidance at the 4th Annual Release the Silence Conference, hosted by the Alzheimer's Association Illinois Chapter. This free conference is Saturday, April 25th, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the UIC Forum in Chicago. Join the conversation. Register at alzillinois.org/release the silence. That's alzillinois.org/release the silence. WVON, media sponsor and proud partner.
I've tried everything to stand out at work. Donuts, a company coffee blend, even dressed as the company mascot for Halloween.
There's an easier way, a ComEd facility assessment. Their engineer gave my company free insights and actions that saved us $732,000 on energy. Easy, right?
Learn how ComEd can help you save at ComEd.com/facility assessment. ComEd, powering lives. Savings will vary based on customers' usage and rate.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray.
Congressman Jonathan Jackson on the line.
I saw a meme that said America will come and get you. When it's about the oil, they bombed in Iran, they've got oil. They bombed in Iraq, they've got oil. They bombed in Libya, they've got oil. And now they bombed in Venezuela, they've got oil. And they even came after Diddy because he had oil.
Come on, Congressman.
What a great setup.
That was good. That was good.
It's the afternoon show with Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
WVON traffic and weather now.
This wet weather is causing some major delays as well at both airports. Right now, Midway is under a ground stoppage until 8 this morning. O'Hare just lifted one. Right now, we're looking at our travel times as you make your way along the Ryan. We're already at 30 minutes from 95th Street into downtown. The Bishop Ford, you'll need 20 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airman Memorial, also a 20-minute trip in from I-80. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, 67th Street to Jackson. Give yourself 16 minutes heavy right around Hayes. Then again, right before you get to Soldier Field. As you make your way from Hollywood to Monroe, that's a 17-minute trip already. The inbound side of the Stevenson, an hour from I-355 to DuSable Drive. Outbound, you do want to look out for an accident. It's blocking the left lane at LaGrange. Your outbound trip at 35 minutes. The Eisenhower, a slow-moving hour 10 from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, 50 traveling out. And as you make your way along the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown, we're looking at 55 minutes there. You'll need 40 minutes getting to the airport. Taking a look at our weather right now, we're seeing some showers across the city. The National Weather Service is monitoring heavy rain that could be headed our way later today. Right now, though, temperatures are in the upper 50s. We're at 58 at O'Hare, 58 in Markham, and 58 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm NF Lenoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 W.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I believe every lie that I ever told, paid for every heart that I ever stole. I played my cards and I didn't fold. Well, it ain't that hard when you got sold. Somewhere I heard that life is a test. I've been through the worst, but I still give my best. God made my mold different from the rest. Then he broke that mold, so I know I'm blessed. Stand up now and face the sun. Hide my tail, turn and run.
Well, it's supposed to be my song, but I guess we've now given it to Christian. In the studio with me this morning, ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic, it's not even a candidate, your nominee. Yeah. Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Christian Mitchell. Christian, welcome back to WVON.
Great to be on WVON. Thanks for playing me in with Aloe Black. I appreciate that. Yeah,
you can tell everybody he's the man. A lot is going on, and I know we've had conversations before, just personally. You've joined on with J.B. Pritzker as Lieutenant Governor. That's a nice person to grab on to. Hang on to as many billionaires as you can in the process. But JB is a good guy. Yes, and JB is a good guy. I knew JB even before he ran for governor. But you're now here in this position, which opens up a number of opportunities as the future goes. Still a young man. You're still a young, not a gray hair on his head.
Turning 40 this year. A little bit of gray in the beard, but I feel good about it.
He's turning 40. Okay, I'm gonna leave that. I'm on a 9, and I'm not going any further than this one because it's just what it is. But let's do this, Christian, at the beginning. Who is Christian Mitchell?
Christian Mitchell is Debbie Gist's son, is James Gist's grandson. My mother and my grandfather really are my favorite people. They define my life. They're my heroes. So I'm in Chicago now, live in Bronzeville, bought a condo there, have been south since I came to University of Chicago in 2004, but I grew up out in the western suburbs, Maywood and Westchester. And as I said, my mother and grandparents were my hero. My dad left when I was very, very young. And my mother was a nurse for 38 years, retired from Rush University Hospital downtown. And I had a pretty normal life, Rufus, until I was about 9 years old. And then everything, like so many families in our community in America, it all changed with one sudden crisis. And, you know, my mother got breast cancer. She later beat it. My grandfather went from second to third stage congestive heart failure. And my grandmother went from dementia to full-blown Alzheimer's. And all of a sudden, you know, while the kids were worried about prom, I was worried about making sure my grandparents got the care they need. I got a job. And that was really my origin story. And the reason I'm in public service, the reason I went to community organizing is I found out my story was actually pretty common, that there were people who had worked all their lives and still with one sudden crisis found themselves on the brink. And that's really what's inspired my career. That's what kept me from doing what I wanted to do, which was be a big sports lawyer and get a 69 Stingray Corvette. Was what was I going to do about the folks who look like me, who didn't have the opportunities that I did? That was the challenge of my grandfather, the challenge of my mentors. And that's what really brought me into politics and organizing, and has brought me to the place I am now.
So it seems like it's crisis, it's healthcare, because what you just talked about with your mom and your grandfather really is about healthcare.
That's right.
And what happens when people can't afford it? What happens when it comes suddenly, which it always does? And how do you deal with those things, which are prevalent in our community for a lot of reasons? In the work that you've been able to do at this point, you became an organizer pretty early on.
Very early, 2008. It was my first job out of school. There was this guy, Barack Obama, who had done it. And, you know, that's kind of my political Michael Jordan. So I really wanted to do, I was so inspired by his example. And again, from the things that I'd seen growing up, that's where I started my career.
Christian, you keep telling me how young you are, man. When Barack Obama is that guy, you know, Barack Obama being not even a younger contemporary, if you will, but a good one to watch and a good one to roll with, obviously, because of what he was able to do and what we can see now by how impactful what he did was, and what it took for him to get there. When you think about yourself, and you were in Westchester, Maywood, and then you went to University of Chicago.
Yep.
I'm going to just take a wild guess and think there aren't a whole lot of people from Maywood who end up at University of Chicago.
No, I don't think there are, but I think there should be.
And I don't disagree with that at all. How did you end up being one of those who actually did?
You know, my mom worked hard. My grandfather worked. My grandfather had an 8th grade education. He was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He was a Union Steel worker at Reynolds Metal Company right off the Stevenson Expressway. My grandfather always said, man, listen, you go to school till they throw you out. I didn't, and my life was much harder for it. And my mother, I'll tell a quick story. She's going to hate that I told this story on the air, because she doesn't love it. But, you know, when I was in high school, I was taking, I think, junior level Spanish as a freshman. And I got a real bad grade on a quiz, like a 75 or something like that. And I came home and my mother said, I'm just disappointed. I know you can do better. And I studied really hard for my next one. I got a 97. And I came home and showed it to my mom. I said, hey, like, look at the improvement. And my mom said, you know, we're missing 3 points here. Did we not need them? Did life get easier for Black men in America? And I was like, okay. And that was my mom. It really was, I believe in you, but I'm going to hold you to an incredibly high standard. And that standard is what got me to where I am. So it really is a credit to her parenting, to really great teachers that I had in high school. My high school English teacher, Angela Fredrickson, was one of the first people who invested in me and told me that I could really be something special. And so it's the teachers along the way, it's the tutors, the mentors, it was my faith community, and you know, my faith in God to get me through difficult times. You combine all those things, and that really is why I am where I am.
Which high school did you go to?
St. Joseph, Hoop Dreams.
Heard about that school, yes.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas or somebody went there or something about that. We're talking with Christian Mitchell. He is the Democratic candidate nominee for Lieutenant Governor, getting to know much more about him and his journey to come to this point. We'll have more of Christian right after Annette tells us what's going on in the news.
Showers in the area this morning. Temperatures are expected to climb near 80. I'm in Flornoy, and here's what's happening. National Weather Service is monitoring storms that could be headed our way. They say we could see some heavy storms with heavy winds come later. Well, there are efforts this morning to identify a toddler found in the West Garfield Park neighborhood. Police have little to go on. They do not know her name or age. Judging by her height, police speculate the little girl to be around 2. She has freshly braided cornrows, brown eyes, wearing a pink coat, a pink Mickey Mouse sweater, pink Hello Kitty shoes, and pink Adidas book bag containing diapers and an iPad. Police are hoping someone will recognize the little girl and come forward. She was found around 7 p.m. Monday night near the corner of Van Buren and Kildare. Well, parents still don't know whether Chicago Public School students will be in class May 1st. The teachers union wants to have that day off so that teachers and students can take part in the National Day of Action. We get more on the story from WVON's Logan Page.
Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates addressed controversy over giving students and teachers the day off for May Day protests during an appearance on the Matt McGill Show. Critics argue schools should remain open, while supporters say the day highlights important labor and social justice issues.
CEO King believes that instructional minutes are only in the classroom. We believe that instructional minutes are also experiential minutes that we get to do out with our kids.
Sure.
So what we want to do is create the opportunity to engage our children and our families on this American democracy.
Gates defended the decision as an opportunity for civic engagement and advocacy. Logan Page, Our News Now, WVON 1690.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is standing behind Pope Leo as he faces criticism from President Trump. Things reached a boiling point over the weekend after Pope Leo appeared to criticize Trump's military actions in Iran. Trump responded by calling the Pope weak on crime. In a social media post yesterday, Pritzker said the Pope lifts his voice as part of a higher calling, one centered around peace and the preservation of human life. Trump told reporters yesterday that he is not apologizing to the pontiff. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 7:34.
Chicago and Daniel Burnham once said, make no small plans. So the Obamas didn't. The Obama Presidential Center opening Juneteenth weekend. Chicago is more than history. It's Black history. We're WVON.
What if you could have the most reliable Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Just 5 years of fiber-powered Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family is banking on bandwidth. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Powered by fiber. Connected to the premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Experience the power, passion, and breathtaking athleticism of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater live at the Auditorium April 24th through the 26th under the direction of newly appointed artistic director Alicia Graff Mack. 1 legendary dance company, 2 unforgettable programs, 3 spectacular days, and 4 incredible performances. From powerful storytelling to electrifying movement, enjoy Ailey's 5 Chicago premieres, contemporary favorites, and beloved masterpieces. Tickets are on sale now at auditoriumtheater.org. Secure your seats today.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM.
This is Khomeini Khan, certified financial planner professional. For the past year, I've been on a mission to change lives and build wealth in our community. Together, we're changing the paradigm. This year, I'm back with a new series, Wealth Strategies, Money Talks. Join me every Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. on the Rufus Williams Show as we have thoughtful discussions around building wealth in our community. We'll discuss topics like investing, savings, tax strategies, retirement, and all things money. Yes, that's Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., so set those alarms. Also, be sure to check out the podcast at WVONWealthShow.com.
Khomeini Khan is a certified financial planner professional with Optimal Planning Partners in alliance with Equitable Advisors, LLC member SIPC in Oak Brook, Illinois. For more information, please call 630-575-5046.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
WVON traffic and weather now.
This would be the morning to leave early if you can. We're seeing some big delays. Starting with both airports, Midway is under a ground stop right now until 8 a.m. O'Hare lifted theirs. However, they're averaging delays right now up to an hour 10. As you make your way along the expressways, the Ryan in from 95th Street into downtown, a slow-moving 40-minute trip. Outbound, you do want to look out for a stall is blocking the right lane at 47th Street. The inbound side of the Bishop Ford, a 20-minute trip from I-80-94 to the Ryan. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, 20 minutes from I-80. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, heavy from Hollywood to Monroe, a 20-minute trip, stop and go from Wilson to Fullerton. 67th Street to Jackson will take you 17 minutes. If you're on the Stevenson, you're looking at a slow-moving hour. From I-355 to DuSable Drive, outbound, you do want to look out for an accident blocking the left lane at LaGrange. The inbound side of the Eisenhower, an hour 10 from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, outbound, moving along at 50 minutes. The Kennedy in from O'Hare to downtown, a 50-minute trip. Getting to the airport, slow-moving hour. That's mainly due to an accident. It is blocking the left lane at Ohio. We believe once that accident has been removed, those travel times there will go down. Taking a look at your weather, cloudy skies and rainy this morning. The National Weather Service is tracking severe weather that could be headed our way later today. Tonight, temperatures are expected to level off at around 56. Today, climbing near 80. We're at 58 at O'Hare, 58 in Jackson Park, and 58 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. Hey, look, next Monday, you want to make sure that you tune in to the Rufus Williams Show. It'll be me and New Leaf, a special takeover at 8 a.m. on Monday, April 20th. Hear how New Leaf is helping people statewide clear cannabis and other records through free legal help and information. Visit newleafillinois.org or call 872-NEW-LEAF and be sure to tune in on April 20th at 8 a.m. for the New Leaf, Illinois Takeover, only here on the Rufus Williams Show, only here on WVON. Back to my conversation with the esteemed Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Christian Mitchell. Christian, we can't miss the fact, and you don't have to respond to this. I just want to make sure we all understand what's out here and why it's so important that people get to know you, because you will be in a very pivotal position here in the state of Illinois. Clearly, we've had lieutenant governors before. We've had lieutenant governors with higher aspirations, excited about Juliana Stratton and her ascension as the Democratic nominee for Senate. There's also been a lot of conversation about the governor and what his future may be, which really, all these things, one, you're engaged, you're brilliant, you're young, and so there's going to be a lot that goes on from where you are. You're making moves now to really get out and help people know who Christian Mitchell is and what it is that moves you. And it's really important to see, know, and do that. What do you think you can do from the position that you'll be in? Because lieutenant governor, I don't know that it's necessarily defined. It becomes defined by who you are, what you do, and what the proclivities of the governor are.
Yeah.
What is it that you would like to do in this position?
Well, let me give you two answers. I mean, one, I was honored when JB asked me to step in. You had my dear friend, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, on the show not too long ago, and she's going to make an amazing United States Senator. So proud of her. She has been JB's partner in governance for the last 8 years, and that's the role that I'm looking to step into. This is a governor who is laser focused right now on how do we lower costs for people, the cost of healthcare, the cost of insurance. How do we stand up to Donald Trump in the ways that he is trying to take Illinois back, trying to take the country back. So we'll continue to do those things. But for me, it's about more than what we push back on. It's also about what we do. And so I'm laser focused on economic development. There's a Main Streets program in the Lieutenant Governor's office. I want to make sure that from Chicago to Peoria to Alton to Belleville to Rockford, that our downtowns are great places for people to live, and that they become a way that we rebuild our communities, whether you are here or you're in East St. Louis. We have a Rural Affairs Council. A lot of people don't know this. We do $60 billion in agriculture every single year. It's what helps feed our state and feed the nation. How do we make sure that our farmers have everything that they need to thrive? How do we make sure that the Black farmers in Pembroke have what they need to thrive? And that's why I care deeply about economic development. I worked in higher education. University of Chicago was very important to me, both as a student and as a place I just left to come do this job. How do we make sure higher education is affordable and it's preparing our nurses and our technicians and our next generation of lawyers and doctors for the jobs of the future, because the world is changing so quickly? And then how do we make sure that healthcare is affordable in the city of Chicago, but also around the state, where the cuts that Donald Trump is making could cause 9 rural hospitals to close that serve poor people around the state and serve working people around the state. So for me, it really is economic development, healthcare, about making sure that we are ready for the jobs of the future across the state of Illinois, and that I'm supporting the governor in his agenda.
And I can't help but come back to some of the things that we talked about during the break, which is education. And the governor has been really focused on early childhood education. I know he put more money into that aspect of what it is that we do. I don't know I just haven't looked to know where we stand in terms of state funding for education. There's been a lot of conversation around how we get off the property tax dole and doing this. There's been more conversation. Tax Doctor comes on often and suggested we need to have fewer districts in the state of Illinois. But I understand why these districts came, with people wanting to segregate their children from others in education, which is a way in which many suburbs came and a way in which many school districts came. And I don't know what we do about those things, but when we still look today and say that we are not where we would like to be in terms of educating our children, what do you see, recognizing the journey that you've been on? And I will recognize the one I've been on as well. But what do you see that we can do to help improve the state of education here?
Yeah, so when I was a state representative, I traveled the state with my dear friend who is now Deputy Governor Andy Manar, working on reforming our education funding formula. We got that done in 2017 or 2018. And so under Governor Pritzker, $2.5 billion new dollars have gone to education. That's really good. It's not where we need to be. I hate to go back to the past, but remember, we had a 736-day budget impasse before this governor came in. We had to dig out of that hole and dig our way all the way back. And now we're up $2.5 billion, but we have more to go. You mentioned the local districts. We certainly have a whole bunch, probably too many. There have been multiple efforts, Democrats and Republicans, to consolidate them. But the problem is everybody says we have too many bodies of government, but their body of government
don't take mine.
Is good and necessary. And so we got to figure out how we work through that. And we also have to make sure, though, that $2.5 billion new dollars in education, that is the highest source of property tax levies in the state of Illinois. Why aren't local governments passing those savings on to people? So we've got to keep putting more money in at the state level. But local governments also have to reduce property taxes, because often you see some of our poorest communities, the south suburbs, places downstate, with the highest property tax rates, trying to provide just basic services, but the lowest ability to actually pay those rates. And so we've got to stop that death spiral.
One of the other things, when the governor and Lieutenant Governor Stratton had come in, we were having huge bouts, issues of violence, huge issues around gun violence. And that became one of the things that I know the Lieutenant Governor was big on taking on at the time. We've seen that come down some. It's not zero. So there's still an issue, but it's not talked about as much as it was before. How do we make sure that we keep our foot on the gas there while we see declining rates so that we can get to a place where everybody feels safe as they move around?
Multi-pronged approach. So there's the R3 program, Restore, Reinvest, Renew, that uses cannabis revenue to fund neighborhood level programs, community violence intervention. So we've got to keep doing more CVI. The governor's put a lot of money in that through the Department of Human Services. We got to keep those funds up. We've also done a lot of investments in public safety. So when I was deputy governor, I had the public safety portfolio. We expanded the number of state police. We installed additional cameras on the roadways. You know, I've lived along the Dan Ryan most of my adult life. So, you know, we had this interstate shooting problem that has dropped massively, in part because of new ISP, new technology. So there's a law enforcement angle to make sure that we've got the resources we need, both on the state police level and on the local government level, to make sure that folks can feel safe and have police protection. But there's also making sure that we have the neighborhood violence interruption that continues to drive those numbers down. That's our formula. And if we keep at that, I think we'll continue to see reduced violence.
Really important. And, you know, it seems recently that there have been more reports of it. Maybe it's because I traveled and didn't hear them when I was gone. But I hope that the levels continue to decrease because people have to just feel better. Look, if someone was expecting the lieutenant governor to be someplace shortly, he's going to be late because I can't let him go. I've got at least one more question to ask him, and we need to take a break. Be back more with Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor, Kristen Mitchell. We'll be back right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
WVON turned 63 years young in April, and we're celebrating all month long.
Well, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Ooh-wee.
Join us for WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater on Friday, April 24th for the return of the award-winning play, The Jackie Wilson Story. This electrifying production will have you singing and dancing in the aisles as the Black Ensemble brings this musical legend to life. His voice, his moves, his music, it changed everything from Jackie Wilson's Lonely Teardrops to Higher and Higher. It's more than a musical. It's a theatrical experience. Join the afternoon show's personalities, that'd be me, Atiba Buchanan, and LaDonna Ray, as we host WVON Night at the Black Ensemble Theater, 4450 North Clark, Friday, April 24th. Get your tickets now at ticketfalcon.com or click the Black Ensemble banner at WVON.com. WVON is 63 and still having fun. Financial freedom starts with access. Fifth Third Bank is breaking down barriers to banking with tools and programs that help you build credit, save, and grow. Our mission is simple: empower every Chicagoan to move forward, because economic mobility means opportunity. This is banking a Fifth Third better. Visit 53.com to learn more. That's 53.com. Fifth Third Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
KFC presents a story about the pursuit of flavor. When one executive told Colonel Sanders 4 Phillips boxes was too many, the Colonel decided he had one too many executives. Enjoy 4 KFC Phillips with original recipe fried chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, pie poppers, and a refreshing drink for $7 each. The Colonel lived so we could chicken. KFC Phillips, just $7 each.
Prices and participation vary while supplies last. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications that top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Hey, it's Cleopatra Draper. Join me for the Midday Show weekdays at 9 a.m. where we'll sip and spill all the tea. Do you want it hot or cold? Either way, we're serving up the flavor of the day. weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on the station giving you what's now and what's next. 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment. It's car care month, and Summit Racing has what you need for bumper-to-bumper care. Revive the interior, exterior, under the hood, and more. Shop summitracing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off and offer of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 3rd, 2026.
WVON traffic and weather now.
We're watching these travel times ramp up again as you make your way along DuSable Lakeshore Drive. That trip from 67th Street to Jackson, now 25 minutes. Hollywood to Monroe, 26 minutes. If you're on the Ryan, it's jam-packed. A 40-minute trip from 95th Street into downtown outbound. Still dealing with that stall blocking the right lane at 47th Street. We do see crews are on the scene. If you're on the Bishop Ford, a 20-minute trip in from I-80-94 to the Ryan, the Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, a 20-minute trip in from I-80, pretty much stop and go from 119th Street all the way in. The Stevenson, heavy at an hour from I-355 to DuSable Drive. That outbound trip will take you 50 minutes. If you're on the Eisenhower, you're looking at a slow-moving hour, 17 minutes from Thorndale to the Burns Circle. Give yourself an hour traveling out. And the Kennedy, in from O'Hare to downtown, a 50-minute trip getting to the airport, still almost an hour recovering from an earlier accident at Ohio. Taking a look at our weather, we're seeing some scattered rain across the city. The National Weather Service is tracking heavier rain that could head our way later today. Temperatures are expected to hit somewhere around 80 degrees again. It's 58 at O'Hare, 58 in Jackson Park, and 58 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Fernoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. Happy to continue my conversation with Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor. That's too long.
We're going to get a shorter title here in
here's
November.
one.
God
I'm going to continue talking to Christian.
There it is.
My friend from Maywood and Westchester.
There it is.
I have to ask you about a couple of issues that have come up in the state itself. And one, there's this clear dichotomy around suburbs, clear difference in suburbs up north versus suburbs in the south. Dalton couldn't find its way out of the news recently, and others have joined that were just overshadowed by Dalton, Harvey being one. And Harvey is under financial distress. Harvey was rejected by the state from some distressed fund, a place that they were. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on the state's responsibility to help these communities, towns, villages that find themselves in these situations?
Let me get the technical pieces out of the way, Rufus. So there's this thing called a financially distressed municipality. That may not be the right term. It's a very arcane term under Illinois law. It affords some benefits, but frankly, actually not a ton. So there was some technical thing. They're going back and forth with DOR. Let's put that over here for a second. The state that Harvey and many other suburbs like it find themselves in is you've got an extraordinarily high property tax burden. You are basically taxing your residents out of existence, and you still can't provide basic services, police, fire, the kind of municipal services people rely upon. We've got to figure out a way to help those folks. If there are changes to the law that ought to happen to allow them additional financial assistance grants, I'm open to that. I know the governor's open to that. I know his team is thinking about this stuff constantly. I'm thinking as a really good example is East St. Louis, for example, which has had help from the state with its schools. I was just with the mayor a couple of days ago. They've got a really exciting series of things they want to think about for their riverfront to attract new business. Those are the sorts of things that we ought to be able to and willing to help right now and say, hey, how do we help you attract that new business, that new hospital, that new thing that's going to help get you out of that spiral? We need to work on those things right now. So I think the state has an obligation to step in and be helpful to those municipalities in the ways we can, and also be willing and open to changes to the law to make sure that we can do more so that we do not have communities that overwhelmingly tend to be from disadvantaged folks taxing themselves out of existence.
Yeah, East St. Louis, interesting. You'd mentioned, I recall years ago when they had a lawsuit and had to give up City Hall to kind of settle the lawsuit, was kind of the the issues that they had then. I'm not sure where East St. Louis stands now.
In a much better
within
place. I
all
mean,
those
so
things.
the Illinois State Police have a district there. They have partnered with East St. Louis. Their crime is at historic lows. The mayor is working right now on ways to continue to bring economic development there. The state is being helpful with that on infrastructure, on grants, et cetera. So East St. Louis, I think, has a very positive trajectory. We've got to now work with those municipalities like a Harvey, like a Dalton, to make sure that they also have a positive financial trajectory.
It'd be good in these cases as well, because you can kind of see these things coming, right? And they shouldn't have to get to a point of having to apply for this financially distressed community fund before we figure out what those things are. Good to hear that about East St. Louis. My wife's from East St. Louis, so she'll be happy to know that it's on the mend, if you will. When we look at places like Harvey today, though, and what do we do? How will they be able to make it through these current periods?
Well, I think that always has to be a partnership with local leadership. You heard me mention the mayor of East St. Louis, and it's part because he has a plan. That council has a plan for what they would like to see. And the thing that's going to be useful to know, and I'm happy to get into this, I know, again, people at the state are interacting with them right now, is what is the plan? Like, what is the leadership of Harvey say? This is the future of economic development in Harvey. Here is the infrastructure we need. Here is what the state can do for us. We don't want to prescribe that stuff to folks because the locals are always going to know better what they need. You tell us what it is you need, and then how can we figure out how to be helpful, being creative with what we have now, but also willing to make changes that make it easier to do the things that are going to help the city.
All right, then my final obvious question today is, do we care if the Bears go to Indiana?
We do. I'm a Bears fan. Actually, my oldest picture is of me in a 55 jersey. So I love the Bears, want them to stay here. And it sounds
55.
like
Who was number 55? Otis Wilson.
Otis Wilson. Yeah, because it was Buckus was 51. Yeah, so it was Big O. So I have the headband and the sweater. I'll see if I can find the picture and text it to you. But we care deeply about the Bears staying here. It sounds like there's a deal in reach to keep them there. I know that my friends at the state are working on that constantly.
Yeah. I don't know whether Chicago's now a lost cause. I wish they weren't. I hope they're not. But just need to
look, at the end, I am focused on keeping them in the state of Illinois. I think they have looked across parcels in Chicago, and it sounds like the team isn't super interested in that. All I know is, we don't want to have the Indiana Bears. Period.
No, we don't. Titus, I got a call on the line. Do I have time to take him? Brother Hall, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, thank you so much for taking my call. I certainly appreciate it. The gentleman that you have there, I appreciate you, man. You once was my state rep. Certainly, I've been one of the ones speaking out on these guys who have suits and don't wear them, brother. So I know what you have done from a legislative point of view when you were state rep. My concern to you, brother, is that where is JB Prickster? It appears that we have a plague at VON. How come we can't talk directly to him? It's an insult to many of the callers because we would like to hear from him, brother. And I wish you'd take that message back to him, Christy. We need to hear from the governor. Now, you're a speaker. You're a hell of a speaker. Always have been, and we appreciate you. And a hell of a legislator. But we need to hear from the governor, brother, because that commercial that he's running about cutting the tax, and maybe you can elaborate on that when I'm off. I'm going to cut the grocery tax. What does that mean? You're going to suspend the grocery tax. We need to know a little more about that because I'm not clear. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Brother Hall. Appreciate you.
Appreciate your call, Brother Hall. It was my honor to serve you. And I'm excited to be I will still be serving you, I'll also be serving the rest of the state of Illinois. So the governor's commercial is about suspending the grocery tax, which he did in part in response to what folks are feeling. So the state grocery tax was repealed. Now there are still locals who imposed it. So that's your first part of your question. Second is, as you know, the governor has a whole state to cover. We actually just did a series of churches on the South Side where folks could hear from us directly right before the primary election. Certainly I'll take it back to him, but also anything that I can take back, I'm always around for. Multiple folks here at VON have my cell. It hasn't changed in 20 years, so they can always find me and I can always find him. So I appreciate your call and always fortunate to be here.
And Brother Hall, I appreciate it as well. And I will take that as a challenge. So we'll get the governor. We will get the governor. We'll get him. Christian Mitchell, thank you so much for coming in.
It's my honor,
welcome
man.
back anytime. I appreciate you. Wish you well this fall because we need to stay on point and stay focused. And, don't know what would happen otherwise. We have
we're not going to find out.
Reasons to be concerned. So appreciate you coming in. Good luck with everything. And whoever he was late for, I apologize.
Thanks, Joe.
We'll be back right after Ned tells us what's in the headlines.
Rainy with temperatures climbing near 80 on this Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I'm in Illinois, and in the headlines, a toddler found alone on a West Side corner has been identified. The National Weather Service is tracking possible storms that could be headed our way later today. And several members of the famous Jackson family returned home to Gary, Indiana for last night's premiere of the biopic about Michael Jackson's life. National news from the Black Information Network is next on the iHeartRadio app and 1690 AM WVON Berwyn, Chicago. It's 8:02.
PIM News Now. The Texas Board of Education is pushing forward with a required reading list that includes many stories from the Bible. Backers say this should not be controversial.
We need our students to understand our fundamental text of Western and American literature, including the Bible.
Cindy Castilla of the Texas Eagle Forum says many Bible stories have become part of our vocabulary, like using the phrase David versus Goliath. She says kids need to know where they come from. President Trump has taken down his Truth Social post depicting himself as Jesus Christ. Monday, he told reporters he thought the picture showed him as a doctor and said only fake news could come up with a different narrative. And Apple is reportedly testing 4 different types of smart glasses. Apple is likely to unveil its new glasses later this year with the 2027 launch in the works. I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News. Now, back to you, Terry.
President Trump says he won't be apologizing to Pope Leo. The war of words between the pontiff and the president over Iran erupted over the weekend, with Leo criticizing Trump's military actions, leading Trump to call Leo weak on crime.
I have no fear of neither the Trump administration nor speaking out loudly about the message of the gospel.
First American pontiff saying he's not a politician and has no fear of the Trump administration. Trump telling reporters yesterday he is not apologizing and addressed the criticism he got for posting a meme that appeared to depict the president as Jesus. Trump insisted the image was supposed to be him as a doctor healing people. Congress returning to Washington, D.C. this week after a 2-week holiday break to face some big issues.
Life is more expensive, life is more chaotic, and life is more extreme. The last thing that the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country, potentially to brutalize or in some instances kill them. We've already seen how ICE conducts itself. These are untrained individuals when it comes to doing the current job that they have.
Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries on CNN last month. Funding for the Department of Homeland Security remains uncertain even after House Speaker Mike Johnson came out in support of a Senate bill to fund the agency minus ICE and Customs and Border Protection. The plan is to eventually fund ICE and CBP through reconciliation without Democrats, but the Republican-led House Freedom Caucus is demanding all of DHS be funded immediately. Meanwhile, Democrats are planning to tee up another war powers vote this week to curb President Trump's military actions in Iran. The First Lady heading to Capitol Hill tomorrow for a roundtable discussion on ways to improve foster care efforts. She'll be joining members of the House Ways and Means Committee as well as witnesses from the system for the closed-door talks. Representative Terry Sewell of Alabama is a prominent Black member of the committee, serving since 2017. The First Lady has been involved with initiatives focused on improving foster care and the transition of those who have aged out. The Ways and Means Committee has also been pushing for legislation to modernize the Chafee program, which helps foster youth who have aged out. South Africa's newly elected Democratic Alliance Party leader Jordan Hill Lewis said yesterday that his focus is on a trust deficit among Black voters. This as he looks to grow the DA into the biggest party in the country. It is South Africa's second biggest party with about 22% of seats in parliament. It's known to boast white privilege in a majority Black country and has been struggling for years to expand. Stay informed, stay connected, and subscribe. Follow VIN News this hour wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
This report is brought to you by Dell Technologies. Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments that matter, like when you're finishing a big project and you can't be interrupted by an update. With long-lasting battery life and built-in intelligence, you can stay focused on what matters most. Built for you. Learn more at Dell.com/Dell PCs.
Amazing. WVON traffic and weather now.
Still looking at some pretty long travel times. You're looking at 40 minutes on the inbound side of the Ryan from 95th Street into downtown. Crews are still dealing with an outbound accident or a stall right at 47th Street. If you're on the Bishop Ford, you're still looking at 20 minutes. And from I-80-94 to the Ryan, Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, also a 20-minute trip in. From I-80, heavy from 119th Street all the way in. And DuSable Lakeshore Drive, pretty heavy, a 25-minute trip in from 67th Street to Jackson, 26 minutes from Hollywood to Monroe. Taking a look at our weather, we are seeing some rainy conditions this morning. The National Weather Service says we could even see heavier rain and winds later today. Right now, temperatures are in the 50s. We're looking at 58 degrees still at O'Hare, 58 in Jeffrey Manor, and 58 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Baby's partner in governance.
Happy birthday, WVON. You're 63 years young and an icon of American radio. Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how we do it. It's just one simple rule. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Hey. R-U-F-U-S. What's that spell? R-U-F-U-S. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Sing it, baby. R-U-F-U-S. What's that thing? R-U-F-U-S. That felt cool. The audio genius. The audio genius. The audio genius.
Welcome back. Look, folks, it is happening. It is happening on Friday. This is the time everything's going on, but you certainly do not want to miss this. It is going to be WVON night at the Black Ensemble Theater on Friday, the 24th of April, and the tickets are moving fast. This award-winning Jackie Wilson story is back, and believe you me, this show will have you on your feet, singing, dancing, doing everything that helps you believe you're living your best life. You may even sing like Titus as this show is happening. It's the kind of night that people are going to be talking about all summer long. It'll be hosted by Atiba Buchanan and LaDonna Ray. It is Jackie Wilson, the Jackie Wilson Story, the Black Ensemble Theater, April 24th. Get your tickets now at WVON.com or go to ticketfalcon.com before these tickets are gone. WVON turned 63 this year, and baby, we're still having us a good time. I had an opportunity yesterday to go to the Lyric Opera to meet with several members of the production that's happening this weekend, Sophronia. It is amazing. It is amazing on so many levels. One, Avery R. Young, who was our most recent Chicago Poet Laureate, was the composer and librettist for this opera. Expecting to see a whole bunch of Black folks there, although be a whole bunch of other folks as well. It is an amazing story that he's put together, and I had an opportunity to speak with him, to speak with Megan McNeil, who plays Sophronia. I talked to Timothy Douglas, who is the director, and with Paul by Saint Jr., who is the conductor as well. We're going to try to play all those for you, but minimally we'll play as much as we can. But had a few conversations with them that I want to bring to you this morning. Whenever Titus comes back into the studio. But it's I'm looking forward to being there. The play is only going to be at the Lyric on the 17th and 18th. The tickets are going fast there as well. So you want to make sure that you're in the house to see, to hear, to experience, to enjoy this production. And you listen to Avery R. Young talk about it. He explains Sophronia is actually the name of his grandmother. And when you think of how the Great Migration happened and where we are and what that was, then you come to this and thinking and seeing and being there with all of these folks like us who are putting on this production was just truly amazing yesterday. So I'm certainly hoping that everybody has an opportunity to go and see it. Titus, you ready? Sure. Good to meet you, man. Rufus Williams, WVON. I think we met once before.
Yes.
Somewhere along the way, but it's good to talk to you here and good to have you on. So this is all of your work.
Yes.
Talk to me about what Sophronia is from your perspective.
Sophronia is a new American opera that centers one family's journey through the Great Migration and what unfolds in the level of trauma associated with that banishment from their place of their home in the South. So it's I understand the Great Migration to be folded into a monolith, and it's not necessarily a monolith. There are stories of Southerners who came to the city seeking, or cities or towns seeking jobs and other aspirations, but then there are some who had to leave because they were forced out of their homes and businesses and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this family has experienced a banishment from their home, trying to make a new one in a city that's not necessarily at the time as welcoming as the stories like to, as this greater broad story of migration likes to happen, which I also think is important when we're thinking about this country coming up on 250 years of its independence, and the words liberty and all of that gets thrown, freedom gets thrown around a lot, but it's been a whole ride for African Americans in this joint. It's been a roller coaster.
It's been a lot.
Right.
250 years is not our history. This is the history of the country. Ours is different than that.
And ours is way different than that. Way different and way more.
And way more. I was watching a movie over the weekend, Nuremberg, about the Holocaust and something else that happened there. And I said, Hollywood is good. Every year they roll out something new about the Holocaust, it gives us a deeper understanding. But what you're doing here, you just described it,
right,
is giving us something else to think about as it relates to our history here in this country.
And also this is the way in which we really hasn't been discussed. I did like a lot of research on what opera centered the Great Migration, and didn't find many works that was produced at this level. So that made it even more of a, I won't say challenge, but made it more of a commitment to see and finish through. And I really, again, am taking this time to honor my family and what I feel like is a great injustice in opera in itself, that Nina Simone never got the chance to make an opera. So this avenue of even dedicating the title to Sophronia from her song For Women it was just like I have to seize this moment, because again, Nina Simone was a classical music artist, but because of the color of her skin, wouldn't nobody say that, right? They're jazz artists, but again, that's what jazz is. Jazz is Black music notated. Simple. It's just simple. It's scored. It has a sheet. It comes with a sheet, but the music comes from our unique experience in this country and just everyday life that we experience so many more things. We're so much more layered and multidimensional than what we are presented in those books. We're not just slaves. We're not just sitting at a Woolworth counter trying to sit down, right? We come with so many other layers to us, so many facets, so many talents into us, and all of that has been poured into the cultural capital of this country. Now, we want to talk about what Black people, or the cultural capital that Black people put into this country. People all over the world know America culturally based on what comes in and out of the Black body.
Indeed. And you mentioned Nina Simone, which is a whole story in and of herself, because she was not willing to accept any less than blackballed as a result of that. So we don't know enough about her story.
We don't,
because of who she was.
We don't,
and how she brought it.
We don't, and even understanding even the history. It was the song For Women that got a ban from the radio
about that.
So I was definitely, all of that is informing and motivating me to create this piece, because like I said, the Great Migration is not a monolith. The fact that Nina Simone made records and not operas is American class music's lost, because I can only imagine what story she would have told in operas. And the closest thing I get is that she did these arias. For Women is an aria. It's a story told through song. Black is the color of our true love's hair. It's a story told in song. I wish I knew how it feels to be free. It's a story told in song. So she did all these arias, but I keep thinking about what we missed that she wasn't able to do.
Wow.
This thing right here that I get to do. So
let's talk about that, because you are a young poet, first poet laureate from Chicago. Here we are at the Lyric Opera House with an opera that you. How does this happen? Why this for you?
You know what? One, a poet and a librettist are not that far apart from each other. Okay. We're both dealing with the same economy of language. We both have to use language to convey a big story with really few words, right? So librettist and poet are not that far apart. But I found poetry through music. So in those sermons and those hymns at church, that's where I discovered poetry. So to bring poetry with music straight from the church house, I'm trying to tell you, it opens up with straight church, right? To have an opera or develop a work that does that introduces poetry, the way it was introduced to me, is full circle.
And those of us who have an opportunity to experience this, what do you
Yes.
want us to walk away from with at the end?
The first thing I want people to do is walk away singing something from the opera, right? Find a song. But I also want us to walk out here feeling like we came home, right? That this particular house presented a story that, with its intention, spoke to people who never walk up in here because they never see themselves in here, right? Because all kind of people come in the lyric. That's not news. The lyric has a very diverse audience, but there are people who think, wow, I don't know Latin, so why would I go see a piece that I have to read all off 2.5 hours? But that's not the case here. This is the case of here. I'm using the language of my uncles and my aunts, and I'm talking to people that look just like my uncles and my aunts and my sisters and my cousins. And I wrote it in mind for folks who would be their first and maybe only time in here. But I hope that for all of us, it won't be our first and only time in here. It'll be that one time and then another time to come again.
So what I've heard you say is that you want us to feel it and walk out having felt it and having felt at home.
You're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it. It's there unless you a 10 man before the wizard before the wizard. But I am going to bank on instantly feel it. It's an immediate pull into this world, not with just your mind, but through your heart as well.
Well, having watched you perform, I have no doubt that that's what it will be. Avery R. Young, Sophronia, happening at the Lyric Opera House, April 17th and 18th. It's been a wonderful pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, sir.
Break a leg.
I shall.
Thank you for dealing with me.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
WVON birthday celebration continues on Saturday, April 18th at the City Winery as we host the legendary Regina Belle.
Show me the way now.
That's right, Regina Belle is heading to Chicago for 2 shows at the City Winery, singing all of your favorites.
Baby, come to me, 'cause I love you.
This is your boy Maddie. Come join me. I'll be hosting both shows at 5 p.m. and 8:30. Don't miss R&B and jazz legend Regina Belle, Saturday, April 18th at the City Winery, 1200 West Randolph. Tickets are going fast. Get yours today, and happy birthday, WVON.
Hi, I'm Glenn Davis, Artistic Director of Chicago's legendary Steppenwolf Theater, inviting you to come see Windfall, a gripping play about a Chicago father who gets caught in the struggle between activism and capitalism. Windfall is a communal experience created for this moment. Don't miss this world premiere from Terrell Alva McCraney, the Academy Award-winning writer of Moonlight. Windfall is directed by Awoye Tempo and performed by a cast with many familiar faces, including my own, from our recent Broadway runs of Purpose and Bug. Now playing. Tickets at steppenwolf.org.
Illinois politicians did it again. They secretly tucked bad policy into the budget. Now, guess who pays the price? Servers, drivers, stylists, workers who depend on tips. Unless Springfield fixes this mistake, your credit and debit cards may not work to pay sales tax or tips starting July 1st. Tell Springfield, stop the credit card chaos law. Learn more at guardyourcard.com/Illinois. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard mama hates anyway?
Since 77, I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
It's tax season, and by now, I know you're a bit tired of the numbers, but here's an important one you need to hear. $16 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud. Not all grim news. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second for your personal information and alerts you to threats that you could easily miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to fix it. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK, 1-800-LifeLock or lifelock.com. Terms to apply.
Protect your money and build your wealth. Sundays at 3 p.m., host and owners of Top and Top Insurance Agency, Clydell and Betty Top, teach you about protecting your assets, 401ks, annuities, life after retirement, the differences and benefits of life insurance, and they take questions. Their advice can enhance your financial future and your legacy. Call for a free WVON financial consultation, 773-881-8110. Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. to protect your money and build your wealth. Powered by Top and Top Insurance Agency.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier. I said when white people don't like something, they just remove it.
Or change it.
Yeah, they that's what they do. But where was the dude that was redacting stuff during the Puffy trial? I'm like, there was some stuff I didn't need to know. Like rubbing somebody's manhood on your chest. I'm like, oh my goodness. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I might forgive you, but you'll never be able to drink nothing yellow ever again. Not ever. Not lemonade, not apple juice. Damn sure not that soda called Squirt. That could never happen. It is the D.L. Hughley Show.
Have you checked out WVON's digital streaming network, Vaughn TV? It's everywhere on Roku, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Fire, on the WVON app, and at VON.TV. Vaughn TV, it's cultural content on purpose.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation that I had with Avery R. Young. The noise you heard in the background, the ambient noise, was in fact power tools. We were talking at the Lyric out in the auditorium, and they were working on the set for Sophronia. So you did hear actual power tools. That you just got it as it's live. But I hope you're able to hear everything beyond it. He's just a phenomenal talent. And I cannot wait to see Sophronia. Also had an opportunity, as I mentioned, to talk to Megan McNeil, who plays Sophronia, as well as Timothy Douglas and Paul Besaint, the director in court and the conductor, respectively. So you will hear those interviews before the week is over. But at this point, because he's here, and actually, this is already time for my break. Oh, before I go to it, Annette, did I hear that there was some more information that came out about the young lady that was found? You're going to do that in your news coverage, which is why you're about to do your news coverage. We'll be back right after this, have our conversation on wealth strategies with my main man, Khomeini Khan, right after Annette tells us what's in the news.
Gray skies and a rainy morning in Chicago as temperatures climb near 80. Good morning. I'm Annette Flernoli, and here's what's happening. New this hour, a toddler found alone on a West Side corner has been identified. Earlier, police had little to go on. Currently, the child is being checked. She is okay. Police speculated that the little girl was around 2. She had freshly braided cornrows, brown eyes, wearing a pink coat and a pink Mickey Mouse sweater. Police say she was found last night at around 7 p.m. near the corner of Van Buren and Kildare. They believe she was left by an unknown woman wearing a green sweater and a leopard print scarf who fled in a black SUV. Well, Governor J.B. Pritzker's pick for Lieutenant Governor of Illinois sat down for an exclusive interview with WVON's Rufus Williams this morning. Kristen Mitchell is a former three-term state representative and served as deputy governor for over 4 years rather. He says his goal is to help create economic development in the state.
There's a Main Streets program in the Lieutenant Governor's office. I want to make sure that from Chicago to Peoria to Alton to Belleville to Rockford, that our downtowns are great places for people to live and that they become a way that we rebuild our communities, whether you are here or you're in East St. Louis. We have a Rural Affairs Council. A lot of people don't know this. We do $60 billion in agriculture every single year. It's what helps feed our state and feed the nation. How do we make sure that our farmers have everything that they need to thrive? How do we make sure that the Black farmers in Pembroke have what they need to thrive?
Mitchell joins Pritzker on the November ticket as Juliana Stratton seeks to succeed U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. Well, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is standing behind Pope Leo as he faces criticism from President Trump. Things reached a boiling point over the weekend after Leo appeared to criticize Trump's military actions in Iran. Trump responded by calling the Pope weak on crime. In a social media post yesterday, Pritzker said the Pope lifts his voice as part of a higher calling, one centered on peace and the preservation of human life. Trump told reporters yesterday that he has no intention on apologizing to the pontiff. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 8:32.
This report is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Ready for a home refresh? Now's the season to finally make it happen. At Ashley's Spring Savings Event 72-hour sale, save up to 25% on your entire purchase with select spring styles, starting at just $4.99 and only at Ashley's.
Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik. You've seen him on cable TV. Now hear his spirited conversation on The Talk of Chicago. The question at hand is raising voices of the Negro. That plain and simple. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik on The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
It's tax season, and by now, I know you're a bit tired of the numbers, but here's an important one you need to hear. $16 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud. Not all grim news. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second for your personal information and alerts you to threats that you could easily miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to fix it. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK, 1-800-LifeLock or lifelock.com. Terms do apply.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
WVON traffic and weather now.
No changes in your travel times, but we are tracking a few incidents right now along the Bishop Ford. Inbound, the two left lanes are blocked right there at Doty Road due to an accident. Also on Oak Lawn, there's some police activity happening along Cicero. Cicero right now is shut down between 91st Street and 87th. And we're seeing some issues along the Red Line. The Red Line service has been temporarily suspended between Howard and Belmont. That's due to a medical emergency. Taking a look at your weather, we're seeing some clouds right now. The National Weather Service says we could see heavier rain later today as temperatures are expected to climb near 80. We're at 58 at Midway. It's 58 in Auburn Gresham and 58 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. It's time for the Wealth Strategy Show with Khomeini Khan, powered by Optimal Planning Partners.
Khomeini Khan, certified financial planner professional, offers securities through Equitable Advisors, LLC, New York, New York, 212-314-4600. Member FINRA, SIPC, Equitable Financial Advisors in Michigan and Tennessee. Annuity and insurance products offered through Equitable Network, LLC, and does not provide tax or legal advice. Individuals may transact business and or respond to inquiries only in states in which they are properly registered and or licensed. This informational and educational radio segment does not offer or constitute and should not be relied upon as financial business or tax advice.
Fighting down, trying to believe God, trying to watch the words in my mouth and stay on the ride. Trouble come and go, even on the mountain high, on the valley low. Never let your faith go. Oh, never let your faith go. I've been there before, so confused, don't know which way to go. Stressed out, world so crazy, miles will stay in the house. Fear trying to rise up, got terror in the skies. They look like us, but we know who we trust. Just when I say that we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Tell them, we gon' be alright. Alright. Say we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. You say we gon' be alright. Alright.
Welcome back. As always is the case on Tuesdays at 8:30, we're talking money. In the studio, back in the studio. Fine, man, where have you been? Back in the studio with me is none other than Khomeini Khan and the Wealth Strategy Show. Khomeini, welcome back to the studio. And we always ask to begin with this because it's important. One, where you been? And why do we have a segment like this on WVON?
Yeah, good morning, Rufus. Good morning to the whole crew. It's good to be back in the studio. Just want to welcome everybody this morning to the Wealth Strategy Show, your Tuesday check-in with your money. Yeah, obviously been out of studio for a couple of weeks. We've been doing the streaming thing, right? And so, yeah, it's good to kind of switch it up every now and then, but it's definitely really good to be back in the studio. The weather halfway cooperated today. It's going to be a beautiful day outside, so I definitely look forward to summer days in the studios and polo shirts eventually.
Yeah, no, we need this weather for today. We need it to be wet. We like it to be warmer, but we need it to be wet. We need not to be outside because some of us have to finish our taxes.
Ooh, yes. Tax season is here. Tax day is almost here tomorrow. So we got a very important topic around taxes. But, like you said, Rufus, the reason that we do this show and the reason it's so important is because, we're going to continue to have discussions on WVON around building wealth and how we build wealth for ourselves, for our family. And so we're going to talk every single week around strategies to build wealth. And so we're going to talk about everything from, investments in the stock market, building wealth through home ownership, entrepreneurship and businesses, and just doing simple things like, making sure that our life insurance is up to date and accurate, because that is a way to leave an inheritance to beneficiaries. And so each and every week, different topic, we're going to do a deep dive and we're going to get into it. And so with that being said, our financial tip of the week is about tax management strategies, just in time for that April 15th deadline.
Yeah, but it's not a whole lot that we can do in this moment for this year other than investing in an IRA. But the strategies really impact what we're doing going forward. And it's the perfect time to think about it while we're filing our taxes right now, because some of us are writing checks and we need to figure out how not to do that.
I got a lot of calls about people writing checks, and they say, Khomeini, I'm tired of writing checks. What can we do? Now, of course, because we're talking about tax strategies, it's always important to make sure that you coordinate these strategies with your tax advisor, your accountant, because of course, this is not considered tax or legal advice. This is financial education. And so we want to be able to educate people around these strategies, but obviously coordinate with your accountant.
Talk to your people. We're just going to give you some things to talk to them about.
There you go. And so, yeah, these are important ideas and strategies to be able to prepare, like you said, particularly for next year. So if we start to kind of implement some of these strategies and kind of take some of this information, do a little bit of research and see how it can pertain to our situation, you're going to set yourself up for the long term. And so that's what this show is about.
So talk about then, what's the importance of taxes when it comes to investment strategy?
Yeah. And so when we think about our investments, taxes are like the elephant in the room. All of us want to invest and make money, but we don't think about what happens when we do make money, right? So a lot of times, there is some kind of tax implication. Uncle Sam says, okay, you made some money. I want my piece of that pie too, right? Give me my cut. And so we have to be thoughtful to prepare for that. And so some of the considerations or some of the benefits of being able to effectively plan around taxes and investments. Number one, we can actually reduce our taxes today. If we do the right kind of planning, we can actually reduce our taxes today. Another benefit is that we can actually reduce our taxes in the future, right? We do some thoughtful planning. We can potentially pay less taxes in the future based on what we have so far as income. A third benefit around effective tax planning is that we can actually reduce the amount of taxes that our heirs and beneficiaries will eventually pay on the assets that we have. So doing some thoughtful planning can actually lower the burden on your kids, grandkids, beneficiaries who might receive assets. And then last but not least, the last benefit I want to share is that if you do some thoughtful planning right now, you actually can utilize tax-free investment strategies, meaning that we can actually invest in such ways that we can actually access money tax-free now and in the future.
All important things, reducing taxes today and in the future, making certain that we don't put a burden on our heirs and actually leave more for them going forward. And then trying to figure out how we can do things now that are tax-free versus taxable, because it's not always what you make. It's what you keep.
That's
right.
What
you keep.
People love that word free. And
free
so,
is a good word, man. That's the best word in the English. It's the best four-letter word in the English dictionary.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about it. What strategies should we consider for effective tax management?
All right. So when it comes to tax management, we're going to talk about three strategies today. So those three strategies or three categories are going to be taxable investments. That's one. We have tax deferred investments. That's two. And then we got tax-free investments. So I'm going to provide an overview of each of these categories for listeners to consider and kind of take notes on. But think about these different categories like buckets. I tell my clients, think about them like buckets. You have three different buckets or types of money. And so the goal is to try to have some balance between your buckets. So you got taxable, tax deferred, tax free. And so I want you to think about your personal situation, as I kind of explain these different strategies and say, hey, is all of my money in one bucket? Is it in two buckets? Or is it in all three? Because the goal is to have balance. Like we talked about diversification last week and kind of spreading your investments out. So this is the same kind of concept, except for we think about it from a tax management standpoint about spreading those different types of investments out from a taxing standpoint.
So then talk about that a bit more. When we talk about taxable investments, those are investments you're going to get taxed on those. You got to pay on those. Talk about that.
That's right. So each of these type of investments is important because they fulfill a different need that we have financially. And so when we think about taxable investments, so what a taxable investment is, it's an investment essentially where you will pay taxes each and every year on the growth or interest that you earn, right? So every single year you're paying taxes on. So some examples of taxable investments includes things like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, CDs, or even your savings account. When you earn interest in that savings account, that bank sends you a 1099 the following year and said, this is how much interest you earn. You got to file that on your taxes. So that's a taxable investment. Each and every year you're paying taxes on. Generally with these type of investments, you're using after-tax dollars. And so what does that mean? That means you get paid on the job. That money is direct deposited into your account, your income that you make, and then you make the investment. That's an after-tax investment. And then when that money generally grows and earns interest, you'll pay taxes on it. So these are generally, like I said, they're subject to capital gains tax or income tax. So it's going to be taxable. But the main benefit of these type of investments is that it gives you the ability to grow your money, right? But it also gives you liquidity. That's the most important reason people use those type of investments, because they're liquid. And so if you need to get to some money, you got some short-term goals, you can get to that money right away without paying any taxes, penalties, or generally any holding periods. And so that's one of the benefits of taxable investments. And so it is an important bucket to have, particularly for that liquidity and to be able to grow your money more than like a savings account.
So you put money in your savings account, you put money in a CD, you put money in any of these things that allows you to get the money back soon. It also generally grows, and you pay taxes on the growth. When you look at the stock market, if you buy stock and you sell that stock, and the stock has appreciated, then you're paying taxes on that appreciation.
Yeah, and obviously it depends on the type of account it's in, because of course you can have investments in lots of different types of accounts, but we're talking about taxable accounts. And so if it's a taxable account, then you will pay that taxes on the appreciation or the dividends that you earn each and every year, particularly if you cash out an investment.
Yep, that's the 1099 that you get that tells you this is what you have to do, because those are also being reported to the government.
That's right.
So you want to make sure you include those
That's
in your
right.
tax return, because you got to pay taxes on it. What about tax deferred investment?
So our next strategy, our next bucket is tax deferred investments. And some people say, okay, what's a tax deferred investment? Most people have tax deferred investments. And so think about a tax deferred investment as you make an investment, but you pay taxes in the future on that interest or growth instead of right now. So you're deferring or pushing off the taxes into the future to give the ability for that investment time to grow now. And so some examples of tax deferred investments, 401ks, many of us have a 401k through the job, or 403b, deferred comp. It could be an IRA, it could be a pension plan. A lot of retirement plans are considered tax deferred investments, even annuities, which are designed as a retirement vehicle. These are generally all tax deferred, meaning that you invest that money now, and then it has the ability to grow and earn interest, and then you pay taxes in the future. And generally, you'll end up paying income taxes because you've never paid taxes on that money before. Generally, you're using before tax dollars, and so you get paid. That money is invested in that retirement plan before you even touch it, and so that means that's before tax money. And so the benefit is that you're not paying those taxes up front. You have that money going in. And so now you get more going into the plan because you're not paying taxes on it, and it grows tax deferred. And so in many cases, you'll have a lot more money than you would have otherwise because you're not paying taxes each and every year like a taxable investment. So it grows much faster. And so that's why, a lot of plans will encourage you to be able to use plans like 401ks or plans through the job, because you can save in those type of plans without paying those taxes up front or as you earn interest in the plan.
You can save there, the money grows there, you're not paying taxes on it, so you've got more money that's growing. And so the tax deferred plans, you don't pay until you begin to take it out, which is usually years later you're retired.
Absolutely.
And you've got less income, so hopefully you're paying a lower percentage on the tax rate that you pay on those items that you put in.
Yeah, that's an extremely important point. So one of the main benefits around using tax deferred investments is it allows you to save and grow over the long term, having your money to build and grow, but it also gives you a potential tax break. And so you have the ability to lower the amount of taxes you're paying right now as a result of using these type of plans. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that because these plans are generally retirement plans, they have they have restricted access. And so you generally can't access them until full retirement age without paying a penalty. So they're not as liquid as taxable investments. That's the trade-off. And so just like anything, there's typically a trade-off. And so it's important to understand the difference. And that's why you want to talk to your tax advisor to make sure you fully understand it in consultation with your financial advisor as well. But you will pay a penalty if you access it before retirement age. But like I said, the main benefit around these type of plans is that it gives you the ability to grow your money long-term, particularly for retirement and beyond, and not pay taxes each and every year. So thereby it can grow much faster as compared to a taxable investment.
And the best thing you can do is put it there and hopefully don't forget about it, because you want to monitor it, but not use it, because the penalties are steep. And then the money is also not available and you get taxed on all that. So it's a very expensive process. Some people have to do it. Emergencies happen and it's money that's there, but it's expensive to take it out early.
And that's the importance of thinking about this like buckets, Rufus, because this is your long-term bucket, right? This is the bucket you kind of want to just kind of forget about, not completely keep your eyes off of it, but you want to, set it and forget it. You're not going to touch this bucket, right? If you need money, you need to touch that taxable bucket, because that's the money you can get to without paying those penalty taxes. And so it's important to make sure you think about each of these buckets, because it's important to have balance between them. Because if things come up, you don't want to be tapping into that tax deferred bucket, because you're going to get hit with a penalty. You want to make sure you got some money in that taxable bucket, like savings, like a CD, where you can get to potentially and not pay a penalty, and you can take care of what you need to take care of right now.
All right, so we've covered taxable, we've covered tax deferred. What are some of the benefits of tax-free investments, and how do they work?
Yeah, a lot of people say tax-free. Like, what's that all about?
We like that.
We like the word free, but it's a caveat to everything that we do, right? And so there is a category called tax-free investments. And so tax-free investments are exactly what I said. Essentially, you make an investment, and then that money will grow and earn interest. And using current tax laws, when you access that money, you're not going to pay taxes on that money generally, as long as you follow the rules. Some examples of tax-free investments include the Roth IRA. A lot of people are familiar with Roth IRAs. You have municipal bonds. I think we might have even talked about that a little bit on a previous show. And you also have something called cash value life insurance. So these are three examples where you have the ability to potentially have an investment grow, or have money grow within an investment vehicle, and potentially take it out and use it without paying taxes on the growth. So it's a very rare thing in the tax code, but there are a few that are kind of carved out. And so it's important to understand that this is an important bucket as well. And the reason that we kind of drive home this bucket too, when I'm talking to clients, is because many times people will have most of their money in that not the tax deferred bucket. And so when you think about most people's assets, the largest asset most people have outside of their house is usually like their retirement plan, like maybe a pension, 401k, retirement, like that. And so that means that usually your largest bucket is going to be taxed completely at retirement. And so it's important to try to have some kind of balance. And so having a tax-free bucket gives you the ability to have some kind of control over your tax bracket in retirement, because if all of your money that you're receiving is going to be taxable, you can balance it out and have, say, a certain percentage of your money tax-free. Well, then now you don't have to access as much from that 401k, and that means you're not paying as much taxes. So the benefit of the tax-free bucket is that it helps control your tax bracket in retirement. And so, like I said, those are some of the examples. Generally, the way that you set up a tax-free investment is that you get paid on the job, that money is direct deposit into your checking account, and then you make the investment, right? So you put the money in a Roth or municipal bonds or the cash value life insurance after you've already paid initial taxes on it. But then once you put it in there, it has the ability to grow and earn interest, and you're not going to pay taxes in the future on that interest that you earn, as long as you follow the rules of that investment.
A lot of conversation really should take place around life insurance, right? Because I recall that you see commercials all the time about life insurance, and understanding what that is, understanding what a cash value life insurance versus term life insurance, what people should have, and how you can use that in these tax-free investments and different ways of managing that money. can make a difference in how people live and how people save in this space. So it's certainly worthy of a lot of discussion because there's a lot to be understood in that space. And so often people are being sold things, and when somebody's selling you something, I don't know whether to believe you or not.
Sure.
And so it requires someone like you to step in, educate people up front on what these different instruments are so they know what's best for them when they talk to either you as their advisor or whoever their advisor is.
Yeah, and it's an important distinction. And I'm going to make sure we do a whole show around life insurance so people can understand the difference between a term policy and a cash value policy, and be able to use it as a benefit for their family. Because, even in the intro, every single week we talk about, potentially using life insurance as an inheritance. And so making sure people understand how that works and, the benefits of having it now and the benefits in the future. And like I said, it's potentially one of those tax-free vehicles. Obviously it's life insurance first, but it does have some tax-free benefits to it. And so making sure people really understand what that's all about. We're going to dedicate a whole show because it definitely deserves to be carved out because it's an important aspect, what we call risk management, which is about, making sure that you prepare for right now and those eventualities of life. And then making sure that, people understand the other benefits and how it can help you and your family.
And Khomeini, we've talked about so many things. I don't know whether we've talked about it, but we should either we should talk about it or we should revisit it. But very often the thought about retirement and saving for retirement doesn't occur honestly until later. And there are people who are, I don't know, let's take Titus, for example, who's a wealthy man in his early 30s.
All right, Titus.
Who needs to think about what it is that he should be doing today for his retirement, and whether it's wealthy Titus or Titus's cousin who's dirt poor. Everybody should expect to live long enough to retire. And there's something that everyone should be doing today to start to think about, to start to prepare for what that is.
Absolutely. You cannot start too early preparing for retirement. And so, talking about, all the different aspects that go into retirement, what people can do now, we'll definitely dedicate another show to that. We did, I think maybe about a month ago, we talked a little bit about retirement, but just dedicating more time to about how we can prepare for retirement. What can we do now? It's some simple things people can do. Just, using some of these buckets that we just talked about. That tax deferred bucket is one of the biggest things people can do, is just, being able to say, hey, I got a 401k through the job. I got a deferred comp through the job. Let me start putting some money in this tax deferred investment, which is going to give me tax benefits right now, as well as investment and money for the future. And so a lot of things people can do, but, to kind of get started and get some ideas, reach out to me. Happy to have a consultation with you, you and your family, you and your spouse, and talk about some of these strategies so we can make sure that we can start to use these to build wealth for you and your family.
Indeed. 630-575-5046 is his number. I'll give it to you again, but I think about that when we start talking about the loss of wealth in our community and where that number is today and where that number is going to be in the future. Neither of it is good. But if we can get Titus's poor cousin to start investing early, then those things go towards wealth. And that looks better not only for them, but it looks better for all of us in what it is that they can do. What we're going to talk about next week.
So next week, I'm actually excited about next week. We're going to have some fun topics coming up here. And so next week, we're talking about tips and strategies for managing your money as a couple. And so I get a lot of clients coming in, maybe fresh new couples or married couples. What can we do strategy wise to kind of plan together financially? So we're going to talk about that and get into that.
Talk about strategies for managing money as a couple. Titus, do not play gold digger. Do not do that. Look, folks, Khomeini is giving us great information every week, but if you need to talk to him in the meantime and go deeper on any of these topics, you can reach him by phone at 630-575-5046 or text, phone or text 630-575-5046. Also, you can go to the website, WVONwealthshow.com, fill out a contact card or complete the Discovery Financial Survey. Get started today, WVONwealthshow.com or 630-575-5046. Khomeini?
Yeah, thank you for that, Rufus. I encourage listeners to continue to reach out. If something piqued your interest today and talking about these buckets, even if you already have plans set up, we're happy to do a review of your plans, give you a second opinion, a consultation to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck, to make sure that you're using these 3 buckets and other strategies. Definitely happy to do that. 630-575-5046. And definitely looking forward to talking to everyone again next week.
There you have it. Equitable Advisors, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker-dealer. Equitable Advisors, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor. Always glad for the knowledge you give us every week. Khomeini, love to learn something together.
Thanks,
every time
Rufus.
you come on.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave it right there for today. And that, as always, appreciate you and certainly giving us the update on the baby that was left out on the West Side. And Titus, a lot going on. We get through most of it. And what we don't, folks don't know. So thanks for keeping all these things, except when I tell them. Folks, thanks for keeping all these things together. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you, as I always do, as you go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please be kind, always. And with that, Annette, tell us what's in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
Cloudy and wet as temperatures climb near 80 on this Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I'm Annette Furnoy, and in the headlines, a toddler found alone on a West Side corner has been identified, but police provided no further details. Southwest Airlines is scheduled to end its Chicago O'Hare service in June and plans to lay off more than 100 employees. And Governor J.B. Pritzker's pick for Lieutenant Governor sat down for an exclusive live interview with WVON's Rufus Williams this morning. National news from the Black Information Network is next on Chicago's original social media platform,